Hey everyone, let me know who is here joining me. This is the first time I am going live at my new place. Not sure who is here. Let me make sure I have everything. Let me know if you can hear me and see me okay. It looks like Rachel is ready to go. Awesome. Well, in this episode, as you guys know, I usually do an intro because I repurpose this for the podcast. I'm hearing a weird sound, so I'm gonna go ahead and take out this. I don't know where this is. As you guys know, this is a new setup for me. So excuse me while I make sure I don't have any weird sounds. Like, I think every time someone is doing a comment, it does a weird sound. So I'm going to see if I can fix that. So please bear with me as we get see, mic is the Yeti, camera overlays, recording is good. I think it's a sound thing. So hopefully here, sound effects. I think I can just remove everything. When there's, oh, that was not it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Hey everyone, thank you guys so much for joining me. Welcome to the Spark Show. In this episode, I'll be talking about what to consider with multiple Instagram accounts. So if you should have multiple accounts, and I want to help you make this decision because I have so many people who have come to me asking me what they should do and if this is something that they should do. So let me know in the chat if this is something that you're thinking about, if you should have multiple accounts. Let me know if you're already managing multiple accounts. I talked to a few students last week that were managing 2, 3, even more accounts, which is very amazing to me because one account is a lot to grow and monetize. So we'll talk more about that, but I just kind of want to know where you guys are at. Do you manage multiple Instagram accounts? Do you want to manage multiple Instagram accounts? Is that something you're considering? So let me know in the comments. So a ton of students in the Spark Society have been asking about this, so I wanted to record an episode to address this. And the thing is, so many people get stuck on making decisions and they end up getting overwhelmed and not doing anything, which is exactly what I want you to avoid. So let me know if you've experienced that, where you're trying to make a decision, you don't know what to do, and you end up doing nothing, and you're kind of just stuck, and you're like overwhelmed, and then nothing happens. Let me know if you've experienced that. I've experienced that myself, and so I've been very, very intentional and mindful about making decisions quickly because I don't want to be in that stuck scenario. So let's start with things to consider. So the first thing you need to consider is who is your audience. So this is why I have my students start with an audience module in the Spark Society, because you really need to know who your audience is. So some influencers start multiple Instagram accounts, but they're talking to the same audience. And instead of focusing on just one account, they're putting a lot of time and effort into 2 accounts when they could have had a larger following. So I talked to someone last week who had 2,000 in one account, 3,000 in one account, 1,000 in one account. If they did that in one account, it would be 6,000 followers instead of just 1, 2, and 3,000 followers. So if your accounts have the same audience, I would recommend to just focus on one account. Also, one account is already challenging to grow. You need time to plan, shoot, edit, schedule, and post, plus engage with your current followers and target audience for at least 1 to 2 hours a day, right? So now, if you're talking to 2 different audiences, it may mean that you'll eventually want to have multiple accounts, but this also depends on how much time you have. And that brings me to the second point of how much time do you have to allocate on your Instagram accounts. So a bunch of you that I may be talking to right now are already feeling like you don't have time. You're already pressed for time. Let me know in the chat if that's you. Let me put time in the comments if you already feel like you don't have enough time to even already allocate into one account. So put time. Exactly. Christina says, I don't think I can juggle more than one. This is a full-time plus overtime job. Exactly. So if you have an influencer business and you have a 9-to-5 job, that's already 2 jobs. So if you're trying to add more accounts and you can't even do one consistently, so that's a signal that this may not be a good time to have multiple accounts because you want to grow one as quickly as possible. If you have more than 4 to 6 hours per day on spending on growing Instagram accounts, then possibly you can grow and monetize 2 accounts. I didn't have 2 accounts until a few years after I started my business and I hired a team, because growing more than 1 account does take more time and effort. And if you have the capacity and budget to hire someone to help you, then it's definitely possible to grow and monetize 2 accounts. Now, most influencers are doing this solo. Let me know if you're a solopreneur, you're the only one on the team, you don't have an assistant, you don't have a social media manager, you're by yourself, you're doing this, put solo in the comments. That means that you probably already are pressed for time. It's not that you don't have time, it's just having multiple accounts is probably going to take away that time from somewhere else. So I want to go back to the plant analogy because, as you can see from my backdrop, I'm really into plants right now. I've recently declared myself a plant lady, as you can see, and I've been talking about it a lot to my friends. Let me know if there are any other plant ladies in here or plant gentlemen. Just put plants in the comments. So as humans, right, we only have a finite amount of time and energy. So in this case of the plant analogy, we only have 1 watering can per day, right? That's it. Like, you can't have more water. That's it. Because as humans, we only have this much time, this much energy, this much resources, this much focus, this much attention. So if you're growing 1 plant, that plant will receive all the time and energy, and it will grow faster than if you're splitting up those resources with 2 or 3 or more plants. Now, as you can see, I have multiple plants because water, we can get a lot of that, and there's lots of fertilizer. But as humans, we only have that much time and energy. That's just how we're built. And so I don't want you to be overloading yourself when you know that you only have that 1 watering can. So I would definitely not try and do too much and get overloaded and overwhelmed and end up not growing any accounts, right? And so I see this with other channels as well, not just with Instagram, right? You get to choose what to add to your plate. So many people are like, I have to be on YouTube, I have to be on Facebook, I have to be on Twitter, I have to be on LinkedIn, and you end up doing nothing because you end up being overwhelmed because you can't be consistent on one platform, right? So if you can't even post and engage consistently on one platform, then it's definitely not a good idea to start another one and dividing your efforts and resources, and instead of focusing on one. So now, are you guys starting to get some clarity on what you want to do, or if it's sounding like you're doing too much? Let me know in the comments. We have a lot of solopreneurs. We have Melina's a plant person. Got it. So hopefully that's starting to give you a little bit more clarity on what you should be doing to move forward. Because if you're already seeing it's a challenge to do, all these platforms and all these channels, that's a sign that you need to be honest with yourself, that that's all the time that you have, and that you should be just focusing on one thing. Okay. So the next thing you want to consider is a personal versus a brand account. So I wanted to talk about this because I get this question a lot. Should you have a personal brand account under your own name or a brand name? First of all, both are brand accounts. You are a brand. It just depends if you're under your name. For example, Gwen Lane versus the LA Girl. So it can be both. For example, the LA Girl was my personal account, but now that I'm no longer in LA, I'm rebranding, and I won't be using that because it's location based and location specific, and I'm not in LA anymore. So that's one thing to consider, that if you are doing something location based brand, that if you do move or something happens, then you just have to accommodate for that change. And change is good. I talked about this in episode 94. Things are going to change. Like, that's the only constant in this world, right? There's always going to be change. And so you can't predict the change. You don't know sometimes where your life will take you, or what's going to happen. 2020 is a big example of that. So just know that if you are doing something location based, that you can be opted to change in later on in the future, and that's totally fine. It's easy to change a username. You just have to take the necessary steps. Now, in this case of personal name versus a brand name, you need to just decide what your goal is. If your goal is to get brand deals, most brands utilize influencer marketing because they want to work with a person, the influencer, who will create the content and endorse their product or service. Now, they do also work with brands that are not a personal brand. Think media sites like Refinery 29, Bustle, and even like the large channels, Nat Geographic, TLC. Those are all media brands that run advertising for brands, and their sponsorships are more like advertisement. So it's more of an advertising capacity. So in my experience, you can charge more as a personal brand because you're putting your name, your endorsement behind it as a content creator. So the bottom line is, there is no right or wrong answer here. The awesome thing about having your own influencer business and being your own boss is that you get to decide what you want to do. And it's not up to me, it's not up to anyone else. You can make the best decision for you at the time and then adjust later. And you can always change your mind, and things are going to change. So if you listen to episode 94, I talk a lot about this. I talk about how you as a person and as a brand will evolve over time, and you can change your name, your username, your location, your lifestyle, whatever you talk about. You can decide that you don't want to talk about certain things anymore, and maybe now you're super passionate about something else. I don't know about you guys, but I follow a lot of influencers that have changed over the last 5 to 10 years. Like, they used to talk about dating, now they talk about mom life. Like, before they were really into like fitness at the gym, and now they're all about wellness and skincare. So it's really up to you. That's the beautiful thing about a personal brand, is you get to decide what you want to do, what you want to talk about, at the same time impact your audience. And some of your audience might leave because they're not interested in what you're talking about anymore, and that's totally okay. Like, you can't force people to stay, right? You can't force people to like you, you can't force people to stay, and you're just gonna have to be okay with whatever happens either way, right? So that's really the lesson at the end of the day, is to trust yourself and know that you will make the right decision for you. And even if it's not the right decision later on, you could change your mind, you could change your goals, and everything will be okay. So instead of trying to get these answers from someone else, I want you to realize that only you can answer this question, make that decision for yourself. The answers are within you, because no one really truly knows your life, your audience, your schedule, your desires, your goals, what you really want. So if you've been stuck in this indecision, today I want you to get out of that. You're going to go over these questions, and you'll know which one feels right to focus on one account or to have two, and you'll stick to this decision until a certain amount of time, and you can give yourself conditions like, I'll do one account until it hits X amount of followers, or if I hit an income goal and I'm able to hire someone to help me. And until things change, which they will, then you'll keep moving forward, because clarity only comes from taking action. It doesn't happen when you're stuck in indecision, when you're overwhelmed and you don't know what to do. I want to empower you to make decisions quickly and be willing to see and test and take the results as they come. So let me know if that's given you some clarity today and kind of started helping you see if you should do one account or multiple Instagram accounts or a personal brand or a different name. Let me know in the comments, and I'm going to sign off here and then answer some questions in the chat. So thanks for listening to The Spark Show, and I will see you in the next episode. So let me see what we had. We had a lot of solo people. Been there, yes. Melina says decision overwhelm all the time. Debbie has 2 accounts. Sarah has 2 accounts. So for the people who have multiple accounts, are you guys feeling like you're doing both of them consistently? Do you have enough hours in the day to be growing them? Because if you have 2 accounts with, let's say, 1,000 followers each, that could be 1 account with 2,000 followers, right? I don't like to split up my focus and attention unless you have, other people helping you, or unless you have enough time, because really, I think that 1 account could be a full-time job if you really wanted to, right? You could definitely spend a whole day curating, creating, editing content, and doing all of that. And so I definitely want you guys to start thinking of these things. My accounts all go back to my main account. Yeah, that's great, Allie, but are you actually managing and growing the other accounts, right? And if you're not, is there a point to have those accounts? So just listen back if you didn't hear with a plant analogy. It's like we only have a limited amount of resources per day, right? And so it could be possibly a placeholder, but it's never really going to grow unless you put attention and time into it. Okay, so I am so thankful for you guys for joining me today. We have a new backdrop here. I've been enjoying Minneapolis and getting everything set up. As you guys see, there's like nothing on my bookshelves yet. It's super clean because my books haven't come yet. But hopefully next time I'll have more of my stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.